next patron question is from Music Guy. He's saying, what are your thoughts and opinions on the potential collapse of the Evergrande Property Group? Could this spell a financial crisis for China? Good question, Music Guy.
Very easy question because you're asking could. And the answer to questions that start with could is often yes, because you're not asking how likely it is. You're asking if it's possible. And what is not possible? Okay, everything is possible. But yes, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How likely it is, if you could tell that, then you shouldn't be wasting time talking to us here. You should be going and doing making millions of dollars. Like, this is not something that you could be analyzed this easily, right? On how likely it is, right? But it is, what the experts are saying is that this could be, I think, let's say there is a financial crisis in China. I think people keep looking at things in black and white. Either China is going to take over the superpower status from United States, or no, it's a paper tiger and it's going to collapse and everything is like a bubble, and any day now the whole economy is so fragile. And this whole example of this Evergrande property that is like, so for people who don't know what this company is, this is a giant company in China that is responsible for a lot of the constructions, real estate constructions in China, and it has so much debt and it's desperate. Like, it's a bubble that is at the verge of bursting, and if it does, it could take down a lot of the economy of China. And a lot of people say that this is basically China's economy being a bubble. People are comparing it to China's Lehman Brothers. Like, they think when this bubble bursts, it's going to be similar to the financial market collapsing in 2008 in the United States. However, so for the purpose of not looking at things in black and white and extremes, let's say it is like the Lehman Brothers of the United States. Look at where the economy of the United States has gone since 2008. It was just like, if you look at only in 2008, it was really disastrous, right? But if you look at it long term, the entire economy recovered really fast, and now the economy of the United States is way above even where the economy of the United States was before the crash. So not only it recovered, it surpassed the best highs of the pre-2008 crash. So if people are saying, if this is like the Lehman Brothers of China, that means it's going to even if there's a crisis, it's going to be a temporary crisis. It's going to be very devastating for a while for a lot of people, and it's going to recover and then some after, if that's what you're comparing it to. So it could be a financial crisis. It will, yes, it's very possible. Will China recover from it? Yes, very likely recover from it if it happens. However, those extremes are saying that China's economy is just a bubble and there's nothing there. That's an extreme that is not true. But the other side is also true. China is far away from anything U.S. anything close to the United States when it comes to the economy. A lot of people look at China's entire GDP and they see okay, adjusted for purchasing power parity. If you do that, it looks like very close to United States, or even past it based on some measures. But they don't understand that GDP is not everything. The GDP that United States manages to, the amount of production that United States managed to put out in the market is by with a much lower cost, right? So you could have the same level of productions for a higher number of people, but at a much higher cost as well. So the GDP that United States is responsible for is coming at a much lower cost, which means the United States is a lot more productive.
With a quarter of the population.
Yes. The productivity of every person in the United States is dramatically higher, right? And there's a huge gap between China's economic production power and capability and the United States. The margin is astronomical. The military gap between China and United States is astronomical. This idea of China is going to replace the United States as a superpower is so far away from reality. Has China grown significantly in the past couple of years? Has Yes, very significantly, astronomically slow. But does that mean that it's like even remotely close to the United States? No, it doesn't mean that. The gap is huge. United States is a lot more power. So again, the people that try to sell you the idea that China is now better than the United States economically or military, they are out of their mind. And but also the people that look at examples like this and say like, oh, China is like, there's nothing there. This is a paper tiger. There's nothing behind their economy, and everything will fall apart soon. They're also out of their mind. Okay, so that's my answer.
Yeah, I watched a really interesting video lately about how China's economy is not nearly as efficient as the United States is, which was a very different way of thinking about things for me. And it really changed my mind on a lot of things.
In so many different metrics, in so many different metrics, the United States is so far ahead of China. But yeah, go ahead.
Not to mention the fact that China consistently faces a brain drain from within their own country. The best often immigrate to the United States. So oftentimes we end up getting the cream of their crop, and not necessarily vice versa. Also in terms of academic production, it's not the same, because their researchers or scientists don't even have the same level of access to the free, world internet in the same way that we do, hence cutting them off from, the wealth of knowledge that is out there. So very, very interesting ways to think about it. And I was, in terms of the Evergrande thing, I was watching some people who were analyzing it, saying that, to deal with this potential or likely crisis, they're going to have to probably go through several restructurings. But one of the benefits, in a way, of being a communist country is that the government can interfere with the economy and assure that banks continue to lend to each other. They have control.
That's not actually a benefit.
To a greater extent.
Okay, that looks like, the government interfering looks like a good temporary fix for things, but that's one reason why China's economy is not growing as fast as it could.
Exactly.
Be, okay? So one thing that made China's economy grew so astronomically fast was the fact that the state let go of a lot of the economy, let foreign investment come in, let a lot of private companies just grow, reduce regulations, reduce government ownership. Okay, but that's also one reason why it's still going to be growing, kicking and screaming. Like one reason it's going to be left behind is because the state hasn't let go completely, and the state is now even interfering more than a little bit than before. This is going to be a major drag for China's economy. The Chinese government is now becoming more interfering. It's more regulations, more limitations, more challenging of Chinese, private, because the Chinese government is actually afraid of any competing power. That includes billionaires, right? So anybody that becomes very successful and the companies grow and the people become very rich, all of a sudden they show up on the government's radar, and then they become prosecuted, and the government is like hunting them down, and because they're afraid of their power. And this is like a major challenge to letting these economies grow. Like there's a lot of limitations, like even recently with Australia, right? Like look at the level of intervention. Australia and China are now very, the tensions are rising between Australia and China, even though it used to be very good, but now the tensions are rising. And China has decided to not let anybody in China buy coal from Australia, and they're buying it from Mongolia, okay, at a much higher price, as like 20% higher from Mongolia, okay, and they don't have energy in China. The lights are going out, and they're refusing. You know why? Because Australia decided to say, like, we need to invest, just for the mere fact that Australia decided to say that we need to investigate where the cove came from, and we need to investigate that. Over that,
they were one of the first to come out strong with that.
But over that statement, over the offensive nature of that statement, they have made the decision to not buy coal from Australia. Like, imagine the impact on the economy of China, buying coal at the 20% higher at the time that they are desperate for more sources of energy. The lights are literally going out, like street lights are literally going out in the streets of China, and they're like, we're offended. Like, imagine all the private companies that have to abide by, like, okay, I guess we're offended, we're not going to buy from here, we'll buy from there. Like, the next time another country, somebody like the politicians, like let's say you're a Chinese private company and you're doing deals with someone like in, I don't know, in Germany, okay, and all of a sudden the German chancellor says something that China finds offensive, the risk associated with, like, oh my god, we have to now cut all our deals. Like, as a private company, this is extremely, in China, is extremely risky, because if the government all of a sudden now tells you that you have to cut all your deals with Germany, you have to abide by it. This is not an environment where private companies can grow. But even if that doesn't happen, the fact that it could happen means that the risk factor makes it, your valuations of your company and your borrowing and investing power, extremely more costly. Like, risk is something that is factored in the valuations of your cash flow. Even if that doesn't happen, it reduces your capacity to growth. This is extremely costly for the private companies in China. Okay, so the fact that China, even though it's less communist than before, the fact that it has that communist mindset is the fact that it still has that command economy mindset, state control of the economy mindset, will hold it back significantly.
I agree. There was something else I wanted to add. Oh yeah. Well, this is also interesting timing, because Xi Jinping is highly motivated to fix this, minimize the damage as much as possible, and make it go away, given that he is, looking for a unprecedented third term. So the timing of this is also very critical as well. Very interesting to think about.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.